Welcome to Pucked Up Hockey Moms, the landing space for moms of all ages, shapes, and sizes. And we won't hate it if the non-mom joins either. We just hope your ears are as unfiltered as our mouths, and you're as passionate about hockey as we are. It's time to get offside, ladies, and no whistles are being blown here. Host Amanda.
And I'm Brittany.
And this week we are excited to be talking with Dean of Students of one of the Canadian Sports School Hockey League academies in Idaho. We are so fortunate to have you here with us. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Let's start off with learning a bit about you and your education background.
Okay. I have been in education now for 34 years. I spent most of my career as a middle school teacher, a seventh grade English teacher. 4 years ago, I'll spare you the details, but 4 years ago, I ended up here at the Hockey Academy. I taught for 2 years here, and then I kind of wiggled my way into the Dean of Students as someone who doesn't have to grade papers and kind of keeps track of all the details because life moves pretty fast at a hockey academy.
It does.
Can you tell us a bit about your role and how you ended up in your role at a hockey-focused academic program?
Well, my role basically started as just a hub of communication. There's a lot of different pieces in a hockey academy where there's coaches, there's teachers, there's administration, there's road trips, there's kids from different countries, all moving very, very fast, and all the boys are very, very hungry all the time, eating a lot of food. It's kind of like trying to keep 100 ping pong balls underwater at the same time. And so
I like that description.
So I started just as someone that all the different pieces of the academy could talk to, and I could talk to them, trying to smooth things out. And it's a difficult thing too when a third of the students are away on a road trip and 2/3 are here, to kind of keep the teachers all in a loop and all the kids understanding what they need to do. So my role is just to try to bring clarity and communication.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts in that hockey academy. What makes the CSSHL, Canadian Sports School Hockey League, model in Coeur d'Alene different than the traditional high schools?
Well, and I'm not sure it's going to come out this way, but I mean this is a good thing. This is the first school that I've ever been to that school really isn't the main thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, it's important, but these guys are 24 hours a day, full time, full throttle hockey.
Yes.
They think hockey, they sleep hockey, they talk hockey together, they eat. And that's about it. And then somewhere within the gaps between, you try to teach them that corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent in geometry. You know what I mean? So it's never a dull moment. And you really have to be smart in how you teach them and try to convince them that learning is their own idea. So there's kind of an art form to it.
That's true. It's like manipulation in the nicest possible way.
Right, with all the great intentions. Yes.
Yes, to make sure, it is their idea. You do love this. And at some point in life, you're going to need all this information.
Yes.
Or some of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Which I'm not sure about. There hasn't been too many days in my life where I've had to do a proof on math, but math teaches one to think logically and break down big problems into smaller problems and put everything together. So even if they don't carry with them sines, cosines, and tangents, they still learn how to think here.
Yeah, it's problem solving, really, and
skills and
they're not going to get that on their phone.
No.
That is helpful.
You've opened a can of worms with the constant struggle with rectangular technology.
Yeah, that's the wrong shape we're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you think back when you first started teaching that you'd be involved in a program like this, or were you firmly set on like either academics or sports previously?
Well, I grew up in a sports family.
Yep.
And so I've always really liked sports. I spent a little time as a wrestling coach. But most of my career I spent in Pullman, Washington, where Washington State University is. And so it was severely academic. And so I actually thought I was going to spend my whole career there. 10 years ago, I fell in love and life got crazy and I moved to Coeur d'Alene. And to be here in a hockey academy, I don't know if you know, I have cerebral palsy and I don't do well with ice.
Yeah.
And so when I tell people that I work at a hockey academy, they kind of pinch their eyebrows together and give me funny looks. So
Yeah.
it's really fun to be kind of within the sports mindset and to tell people I work in a place that's all about hockey.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, you're in a building that's completely separate from the cold building, right?
Yes. When I go watch a game, it's like, I think I need to move now because
Yeah.
these old bones, it has an effect. I usually stay in a nice warm lobby part to watch the
Yeah.
games.
Need to like get yourself a sauna bag and plug that
Or at
in.
least a nice hot cup of coffee to bring with me.
Yes. Yeah. I've invested in those like USB rechargeable hand warmers.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
And I got an electric or a battery powered vest this year
Yep.
for Christmas.
Yep.
It's
We sent
beautiful.
our son one so he has it for the bus because he
Yeah.
complains that the bus is cold. So he has a hoodie that has the little Milwaukee powered batteries. He's got like 4 of them.
Yes.
So he and a phone charger that fits with it so that he can stay warm on the road.
Go. The first year I was here, it was like 55 degrees in the school building. And I was like, can we turn up the heat?
Cold.
One of the guys here who's a hockey guy was like, well, I have it set. And I was like, what is it set at? He said 55 degrees. And I was like, oh my word. So things have gotten better and warmer inside the school. We pretty much have the process worked out.
That's amazing.
Now we know you're in Idaho, which is clearly not in Canada.
Yeah.
So tell us, if you can, how many U.S. schools are part of the CSSHL, and how did CDA decide to join the Canadian League versus any other league in the U.S.?
Well, I know that 2 years ago when I was still teaching, we were the only school in the States in the CSSHL.
Yeah, there's the Star in like Tacoma, Kent Valley, and then Wenatchee. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, so the Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy, though, was the pioneer. And the decision to be part of the CSSHL was made before I showed up.
Okay.
But I know that a lot of kids want to come down from Canada and play hockey in the States.
Yeah.
Which at first I found kind of counterintuitive because hockey is bigger in Canada than in the States, although I think it's growing. I know it's a good thing when the kids get to play in this league and they get to go up to Canada and, Canadians come down here and Coeur d'Alene gets some exposure and hockey in the States. So I think it works well together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you guys play in some games in the U.S. as well still?
Yeah, we go down to Wenatchee and we've been over to Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of trips up north, though.
Yeah. What does a typical day look like for you when you're balancing academics with these boys and their travel schedule for 3 competitive hockey teams?
Well, for me personally and for the teachers, for the academic staff, life just works so much easier when all 3 teams are here.
I bet.
Because it centralizes the communication.
Yeah.
So when there's a team or 2 that are away. And only one time in my career here of 4 years have all 3 teams been away at once. And that was kind of magical because we could work remotely. When some of the kids are gone, it's a double-edged sword because the energy of the day and the kind of the behavioral stuff that happens sometimes and just the energy reduces, and so teachers get to take a bit of a deep breath. But there's so much more to keep track of. They have to keep track of all their online stuff, making sure that the kids are communicated to, waiting for things to come in online so they can be graded or counted late or whatever. And kids are handing things in at 11:59 p.m. And so my life personally kind of ramps up when there's a team away.
Yeah.
I try to get the coaches information for their study halls so that we can kind of keep the idea of studying in the heads of the kids. There's just a lot more to do when not all the kids are here.
Yeah, because they do study hall on the weekends when they're away, right? They don't have school on a Friday because they're traveling and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So we try to get them into a couple of study halls per road trip.
Yeah.
And the kids that are struggling, they get a little bit more study hall.
Mm-hmm.
So we try to keep them accountable. But it's hard because when you're on the road with your boys,
Yeah.
and there's hockey in the air, they really.
Yeah, and 5 other teams around them.
Yeah, and everybody has their phone.
Yes. Yeah. The environment is a little bit different. I do know. Is it the league or the school state that sets the threshold on grades that must be met, or they aren't eligible to play?
Well, I think this is a bit of a weird question where the league says you have to have 70%, a 70% average.
Okay.
And we as a school have taken that and said you have to have a 70% average in all your classes.
Yeah.
So we tried to bump up the academics a little bit, to give a little bit more leverage.
No, that's good. It's a great buffer too, and that's a great expectation for them because then they know school still isn't secondary, right?
Yeah. That we're looking long term and trying to. Part of it is, kids. There's a lot of kids here that have never really been away from home for an extended period of time, and making sure they fit school in when they have a lot of freedom that they're not accustomed to, or a lot of freedom that they are accustomed to, I think is a really valuable lesson.
Yeah, it's good structure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it gives me good leverage as the guy. I'm kind of the bad guy when I tell them that they can't play and that kind of thing. But that doesn't actually happen very often.
I was going to say, I have never heard a bad thing about you.
Oh, well, you're talking to the right people, Amanda.
Are there ever moments where you feel more like a coach than a principal or an educator?
Yes. When a kid does have to sit out, there can be discouragement. And so you have to kind of coach them up, which is difficult because coaching these kids up in hockey comes really naturally for them. But coaching them up in world geography isn't necessarily. It's a challenge. And I find, too, that they don't, as a group, do well with teacher speak.
Yeah.
Like, you be a good boy and we're going to hold you accountable. And so if I can package the hey, let's get with it. Let's get off your backside and get with it. In more of a coach lens than a teacher lens, it works better.
That makes sense.
It's like they're programmed to receive that message better.
Yeah.
They only know how to function through the ears of or the hearing of a coach.
Okay, pretend we're in a locker room.
Yeah.
You're like 3 goals behind.
Yes.
In your math class, and the math class is on a power play, so you need to get with it. So.
Yeah, you got to break down systems on the whiteboard to teach them geography of drawing power plays from one state to the other.
Yeah.
You could start your own YouTube series on how to make hockey plays out of geography or math or something, and that would be.
I have to confess, Amanda, I'm still learning about the hockey thing.
That's fine. We all are.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I just like to yell things at random times and hope I'm not saying it in the wrong time.
Well, I kind of mumble and say things like blue line and crease kind of in there at the same time.
Hash marks.
I try to fake it well. Yeah.
See, if you yell, what was that called? And people think you know what the call is supposed to be, but realistically, I don't actually know what that call was.
Or I yell offside a lot to my kids when it's something that's inappropriate, or when I'm inappropriate, because offside is not the way they should be. They're out of bounds. So just start yelling offside to the kids when they're doing something
See, I think being a hockey parent is a lot like being a hockey teacher.
Yeah.
there's a lot of overlap there.
Probably. It does make sense. Do you find this style of school setting provides much more of that family style where kids get more individualized help and you're able to see as educators on your staff where you can best meet each child's needs versus the public school setting?
Yeah, in the classes that I taught in the public schools, like the year seventh
Mhm.
grade class, was around 200 kids,
Yeah.
and we're around 60 to 70. And though the staff is small, there's 4 teachers and me.
Hmm.
The class sizes are pretty small, and we really get to know the kids. I don't exactly know why, but when hockey is so important to them and so much of our lives are kind of structured by what's going on in hockey,
Yeah.
and holding kind of hockey over them, like you get with it or it's going to affect hockey, that's
Yeah.
great leverage.
Yeah.
So I find that really getting to know the kids is a lot easier here.
Yeah.
Not only because of the small class size, but they do everything together. They
Yeah.
live together, they eat together, they practice together, they do everything together.
They do. They do.
So it is like a family. And in my family of 6 or 5 siblings, there's some arguing that goes on and some fighting and some he ate my food and that
Don't
was
touch the
supposed to be
food.
mine and you didn't have to do the chores, and
Yeah.
it really is a family here.
Yeah, and that's nice. And you kind of get to know their triggers in the way of like what motivates them and what's going to help them succeed, right? And they know that their actions have consequences by not finishing the school. Whereas I don't know that you have the same leverage in a regular school setting, I guess.
You don't. In a regular school setting, and this is very broad, but
Yeah.
it was almost like how well you could say, I'm gonna, and be
Yeah.
believed. Where if you're keeping a kid off the ice here, that's a real thing.
It's a real consequence.
That's
Yeah.
a real that's
Yeah.
real leverage.
Hmm.
So
And like a lot of it's empty threats because you're not able to follow through with what you'd love to say.
right, right,
Yeah.
right.
How do you manage emotional burnout in players, especially those dealing with performance pressure or injury, or those that are missing home?
I think to work at a hockey academy, teach at a hockey academy, you better be an encourager.
Yeah, like a cheerleader.
Yeah, because if it's kind of like I come from a family of 6, and we used to eat canned beets.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're a fan of beets,
I am.
but I am not a fan of canned beets because it would bleed all over everything.
It does.
Like it would turn my mashed potatoes red, and that's kind of the way hockey is here.
Yeah,
And it would make my mashed potatoes, which I love, taste like dirt. So
yes,
if hockey isn't going well for a kid, I mean, that's their world.
yeah,
Everybody in the school knows that hockey's not going well for the kid.
hmm,
And, their kids, I think, love the fact that they're at a hockey academy by and large, but
hmm,
they're away from home. And when life isn't, I mean, I'm 60 years old, and when life's not going well, I still kind of wish mama would give me a call, you know. And so not doing well in hockey is kind of like bad tasting beets that bleed all over everything. It makes everything taste
it's
like dirt.
probably the best analogy I've heard because it does. It like bleeds through your plate, and
Yeah, yeah. And so it's hard for them to buy in any
mhm.
academic encouragement when hockey's not going well,
Yeah,
but we do our best.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, they're hormonal, and it changes with the wind.
Right, right. And one thing is, if you give them food, like you said, I come from a family of 6,
Yes.
and the 6 of us are 7 years apart total.
Okay.
So there was wall to wall children. And
Yes.
I have never seen food being consumed in such a way as a hockey academy.
Yeah, yeah, we've billeted before, and it's very different to have the teenage boys in the house versus a teenage girl. I will tell you that much. Yeah.
I got 2 teenage girls at home.
Yes.
So it's a nice contrast.
It is.
Coming home from work.
Do you try and keep your girls far away from the hockey boys?
No, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I would never let you date my daughter.
Yeah.
And then there's some that would be like, okay, if you were to ask, we would have a conversation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love it. That's amazing.
That's funny.
Yeah. Wow. That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for hockey parents that are trying to keep their kids focused and grounded?
Well, I think that I would spend a lot of time on the phone with if my boy were away at a hockey academy, I would just really try to remind them that I am there for them.
Yeah.
And really just try to know what's going on in their minds, which is an art form because teenage boys speak in monosyllabic utterances.
Yep.
And so I often put myself in the situation of what it would be like if I were a parent. It's not going to be a perfect science, and it's going to seem like they're a million miles away sometimes.
Yeah.
And that they're giving you very little feedback, but it's really important for them to know that you're there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I write a newsletter basically every week, and Amanda, I thank you for reading it. But I'm not really sure how many parents really do, because I don't get a ton of feedback. But it's nice to know that it's an avenue for communication. Like when I get an email from a parent, it's usually a reply from the newsletter that I send out. And so, metaphorically speaking, as a parent, I would just try to create that avenue for the reply, you know?
Yeah. It creates a good communication portal too. Like your weekly newsletter, it's like the most opportune time to just hit reply and be like, oh,
Right.
hey. Yeah, like it does leave that channel for communication. So, I mean, half the time I do reply. I'm like, oh, that was awesome. Thanks.
And I thank you for that because you kind of, the effect of it really is invisible. And so it's kind of like teaching where I used to say that teaching is filled with noble moments in time, noble flashes in time, where, a kid comes in the first day of school and he's kind of a brat, and he leaves the last day of school and he's still kind of a brat. But that doesn't mean that nothing happens.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll say something nice, which is the noble flash in time.
I know you're one of the newer teams in the league, but do you notice any patterns in athletes who have successfully transitioned to college or junior league so far?
I would say routine.
Yeah.
Routine is what it's about here. And not getting stuck in the routine, but making the routine work.
Yeah. So capitalizing on what you guys have to offer and then transitioning well into a college or a junior team from there, rather than getting distracted from all the other stuff around.
Not putting in your time in the weight room, not putting your time fully investing in the practices.
Yeah.
The optional early morning practices.
Mm-hmm. Those are optional?
Well, maybe not. I know that.
I'm just kidding.
Every kid shows up, so yeah.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
How does your program help players prepare for life after hockey? So whether they go pro or if they pivot entirely?
Well, I think that kind of an overview, our program helps kids find healthy structure.
Yeah.
One thing that I really admire about kids here and the parents of the kids here is you're allowing them to chase the dream. You're allowing them to really find out, how far in this hockey thing that they can go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, my dad was a great baseball player, but his dad wouldn't let him go to a summer league for the Oakland A's. And so he lived with a huge what if in his life. So I really admire the fact that you're allowing the kids to chase what they really want to chase, but within that, they have to find that life is bigger than hockey. I would say that Wayne Gretzky had to find something to do after his career was over. It doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
And so we're about trying to help them expand their thinking beyond hockey as an educational staff.
Yeah.
And trying to show them that there are important things that they can learn in hockey that also work outside of hockey.
Yeah, for sure.
It helps them learn and prepare for life with a lot of things, right? And like, because school is so important to still stay at the academies, like they end up coming out with good grades because they have to get good grades in order to be able to play hockey. So it usually makes them college eligible. Like they have good shots of getting into college and stuff with what they graduate with, right?
Yeah. And before I got here, I was the first teacher here. If they had a teacher page in a yearbook, it would have been my face,
Solo.
But before kind of Sean, the owner, tried to establish a face-to-face school, it was all online.
Okay.
And I really think that having a face-to-face school holds kids more accountable and really establishes some good patterns.
It does, for sure. What do you think people misunderstand most about the CSSHL or sport focused schools?
I think that the life outside, when I tell people I work at a hockey academy, they kind of think, and I'm reading into it a little bit, that it's kids that are trying to do well in hockey and that the school part is just kind of a front to make it look better. Like that we don't really try to expect things from them academically. So it's really cool when we grow as a school. This is basically our fourth year as a face-to-face school. And we're really trying to convey that the academics are important, which I think is most important for parents who are sending their kid, in some cases, thousands of miles away.
Yes.
For sure.
And you guys, like, they've done trips to do, like, a college fair and stuff, too, right?
Yeah. We go on field trips, and we haven't had much luck lately. We've had people come in from the town, from Coeur d'Alene, to kind of talk about their jobs and things.
Oh, cool. Like a job fair kind of thing?
Bringing the job fair to them.
That's cool.
It's been a little bit backfiery the last couple of times, where the people we bring in haven't really done well to know how to be in front of a room.
You need to interview them. Yeah.
For a bunch of teenagers, it's kind of like blood in the water.
It is. They smell blood.
Yeah, and as teachers, we sweat bullets trying to kind of keep it together. So we'll take at it.
Yeah. Well, I know that, like, if you've gone out of town or whatever, and there's a college that you guys can visit and do a campus visit, like, I think you got, like, in Niagara Falls or Rochester, there was a visit there, and that's kind of cool for the kids to get that experience while they're out to go see different campuses and stuff.
And as a staff, we like the option where hockey might allow them to play in college.
Absolutely.
Where they get an education, and hockey is the doorway to that education.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Like, I am not looking for an NHL here. I am looking for a scholarship for my child to get an education. And if he can play for 4 years. Yeah, like if he can play for 4 years in college or university, that's amazing. He can keep playing while getting a degree and find get a full education and get a career and still have the time of his life. So I'm paying for it now to hopefully not pay for it later.
Yeah, and with hockey being such a big part, it helps kids be more disciplined if it all works out well.
Yeah,
they have to juggle a lot of things, and it forces them to be disciplined. Yeah,
I feel like they have a much higher chance at exceeding at a high demand job, really, because of all the structure and the intensity and the competitiveness, if they choose to go for that. If they find a passion in that career that is high intensity, if that's what they're looking for, then they have the ability to do so based on all the skills they've learned in the sport.
Yeah, the hockey academy life isn't a sheltered life, for sure.
No.
And so I think that's a healthy thing.
Yeah.
If the kids approach it in a healthy way.
Yes. But you'll always have a few that find a way to not.
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
No matter where you go. That's no matter where you go, there's always some that'll find a way to make it different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I earn my money, Amanda.
That's true. Yeah. Put your skills to the test, Ken.
Yeah.
Coffee or energy drink to survive the hockey/school season?
Well, for the boys, it's the energy drink. For the teachers, it's massive amounts of coffee. The best thing I know that I've done this year is I rescued a Keurig coffee maker from the coach's office that was not functional, and I cleaned it up, and it's now in my office, which isn't really an office, it's a corner, and the teachers are very appreciative.
Excellent.
So I've done my part.
So you need the kids, if they're sending Christmas gifts, to send like Keurig pods and stuff.
Yeah, Starbucks, gift cards.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a shameless plug for one of those noble flashes in time where a kid gives you a rectangular gift card and you think, maybe I've done something okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love that a Starbucks gift card is interchangeable for Canada and US. So
Yes.
Wow.
well, like I can send it in email, but I'll send it in Canadian funds and it's going to be Canadian funds, so it's less.
Yeah, that's true. But it's still usable.
It's still usable, so my son can take home a gift card, because not a lot of gift cards are interchangeable, so he'll load them all on his app, and then when he's down there, he can spend them on his app, and it just converts it. So here's a shameless Starbucks plug, but I do love Starbucks.
We are all for it, especially this time of year, when we have to remind ourselves to breathe in.
Yes.
As a teaching staff, because it's
you're on the home stretch.
Oh man. And we have a 3-on-3 hockey league, but it doesn't hold the same thing.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's not the same.
No. It's not the same intense competition of traveling around to the different cities and stuff, but it still keeps them busy and on the ice and doing stuff, so that's great. What's the best chirp you've overheard in a rink that won't make the moms want to punish their children?
I have to kind of bag out on this one because I hang out in the warm areas.
Right.
So they chirp at each other academically or in the middle of class. It doesn't take much to have a teenage kid go right to their amygdala, their primal, because all they have to do is chirp their hockey and it's go time.
Yeah, it's full chaos in the whole class.
Yeah. It's not like it's a free-for-all, but if you want a kid to go directly to their emotional brain, you chirp their hockey.
Yes.
And we're there. So yeah.
It's kind of one of my favorite pastimes, and I will say that I think because moms don't necessarily chirp a lot, and maybe they do, and so I'm generalizing. However, in my experience, it's mostly dads. So I will definitely catch kids off guard when I chirp the crap out of them.
Yeah.
And they look at me like, did that mom just chirp me? Oh, yes, I did.
Yes, and that buys you a lot of street cred.
And if you're not fast, I'll chirp you harder, so you better get with it, buddy.
Right. You better catch up.
Yeah, it is my favorite to chirp.
That is, in teaching, we often talk about life being filled with noble flashes in time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Those are mine.
Yeah, that's a hockey mom's noble flash in time.
Yeah.
A well-placed chirp.
Yeah, it's just like dropping a chirp bomb and walking away. Yeah.
I think I shared with you the best teacher chirp that I ever heard of. I wasn't in the classroom, but my best friend, who was the best man in my wedding, we were college roommates, and then we ended up teaching at the same school.
Nice.
It was a middle school, and the kid was making a flatulating sound. He was making a farting noise.
Yep.
And it was a kid who was really smart but kind of lazy.
Yeah.
And so my friend said, in the middle of his lesson, just offhandedly, no farting, and then went back to his lesson. And the kid goes in his snide way, middle school way, I wasn't farting, I was breathing.
Yeah.
And the teacher, my friend, said, oh yeah, sometimes I get your face and your butt mixed up.
Nice.
That was beautiful.
It was beautiful. I mean,
my brain doesn't.
I I'm quick. We have a friend that has taught my daughter to be quick also. So she's catching up to me.
Fun at home. I don't know
It
if
is.
Quentin then would have a problem with mom and his sister coming at him in stereo.
He does. Yeah. He's not a big fan of that.
Well,
No.
it's good to see him like a little uncomfortable, I'm sure.
He does dish it out very well, though.
Okay.
So I would say that we're like a full family, a full-fledged chirping family.
There you go. Those are the happiest kind, you know.
Yeah, I know. And sometimes, like, when you have all four of us coming at you, people are looking at us like, where did these people come from? Yeah.
Well, you have to teach your kid to have a thick skin. So when you can do it in the guise of humor.
It's true.
Keeps their hearts soft.
Yeah, that's true.
What is one thing every hockey parent should stop doing immediately?
I know I looked at this in advance and had a great answer. Stop doing immediate. I think that you should do your severe mothering in secret. If that makes sense. Like, I think the boys do need their mama.
Yeah.
I'm a 6-year-old man, and there's moments where I just need my mama.
Yeah.
But in that kind of macho, kind of bravado world, moms need to be smart in how much they
Draw attention to it.
Draw attention to their kid once was a 3-year-old kid that they would carry. And they love very much because when a mom kind of lets the secret out that her little whoopee isn't doing well or whatever, they the kids pay for it in a hockey academy.
I'm sure.
They get chirped.
Yeah.
So,
I did have to give over my social media to my child a couple years ago so that he could delete all the photos like 4 or 5 years back that were of him and my daughter so that because he realized all their friends were going through their parents' social media to like not bully but like bug each other with.
Right.
And
it's all about finding an in to chirp and to
Yeah, it was next level. I'm like, you guys are way more creative than I thought you were.
When I was in school, we called it talking smack.
Yeah, they're texting smack.
Sometimes it's hard to know the difference between talking smack and talking damage.
That's
you can't have the talking damage.
No.
But you can't stop all the talking smack.
No, exactly. And I mean, we have another episode about bullying and stuff where like helping them learn the social cues of when somebody's uncomfortable with it.
Please, may everybody listen to that podcast. It should be required listening to everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's Puck Off to Bullying if you want to check out that website.
Okay,
so, yeah.
That's my next listen.
Yeah. If you had a billboard outside your school, what would it say? If you could put one out there.
Well, as a school, I think it would say, we really care about your kid.
Nice.
So there's a lot of different teaching styles. There's a lot going on, and sometimes you feel like you're talking in the wind or trying to educate during a windstorm when the roof is coming off the house. But we really do care. Every teacher here cares about your kid. And I think that if parents know that, then it's really important. Hopefully the kids know that too. I mean, you have your teachers that their style doesn't really mesh with you and all that kind of thing, but you get a lot of leeway if you know someone cares for your kid. Or your kid knows that someone cares for them.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That's easier to do in smaller groups too.
Yeah.
And what's one thing you hope every student leaves your school with besides a diploma?
Well, I don't know. Can I go a couple more?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just one? One is to be grateful that they get the opportunity.
Yeah.
But also to know that life is bigger than hockey.
Mm-hmm.
And that they should be grateful that they get the opportunity to have a school that revolves around something that they love.
Yeah.
It's a rare experience.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm jealous that something like this exists for them. Like, I'm happy for them. But, I mean, that was not something that was available in my day, so.
My brothers and my sisters didn't really want to be good at sports, but they were good at sports anyway.
Yeah.
But my brothers and I would have given my left arm for something like this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that the kids, and maybe it takes a while, but are thankful to their parents to allow them to pursue this thing and that they have a place catered to something that they love.
Yeah, it's pretty
and
cool.
At the same time, I want them to know that life is bigger than hockey.
Yeah. How can listeners follow your program to learn more about the CSSHL in Coeur d'Alene?
Well, I think the most accessible piece of that would be we are online. We have a website that is getting better and better.
Mm-hmm.
They could get on my emailing list for the weekly newsletter.
Love
If
it.
they wanted to find out kind of the day to day. I try to approach it as parents wanting to know what their kids' lives are like.
Yep. It's like mining gold, trying to get it out of the kids otherwise. So
Right. Then you get the monosyllabic utterances and
yeah. Well, we'll link the website and the social media stuff for the school in the show notes as well.
Yeah, that to me that would be a really great thing. And we're working on ways in which the newsletter can be more palatable because I have like a rectangular picture and a quote, and then it's just me waxing semi-poetically. So to make it a little bit more palatable, but also a little bit more accessible on the website and that kind of.
Yeah, you need to make it a project in class for the kids to help.
That is what we should do because as a middle school teacher all those years, I taught middle school for 26 years. I'd learned the magnificence of just saying, "I want to use people, do it."
Yeah.
And it was done.
Yeah. I mean, you should run a thing even or a little contest to see who can make the most creative newsletter for you.
Yeah.
And get that template. And once they have a template for you, then who can help implement it and make it like click friendly.
Yeah. And then, for better or worse, these guys are wired competitively.
They are.
So I could say.
I know. And they're learning technology that's applicable on a website at the same time, right? So there's so many things.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah.
Well, I hope this is a good little podcast for you, but I think
I love it.
Upped my game.
Well, I'm super happy that you came on. So, thank you.
All right.
What advice would you give to parents that have competitive hockey players that are looking for programs that fit academics around their sport versus public school?
Well, I find that I always try to think of it as if I were a parent.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing is, one, you have ultimate leverage here because their academic performance is tied into their hockey.
Yeah.
And we talked about that a little bit earlier. And their academics is also tied in very closely with something that they love.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the hard part is, and we've talked about this a little bit, is for the most part, your kid is miles and miles away.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm going off question a little bit.
No.
But anything that you can do as a parent that says to your kid, "I'm still here.
Yeah.
I know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I care deeply," then I think you got the best of all worlds.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, because I just don't know how to not ask, if you could talk to any professional athlete in any sport, who would it be and what would you ask them? Or would you rather talk to their parent?
Now, is this anybody alive or is this?
No.
Past or present?
Past or present.
Okay, well, then I think I have a couple.
Okay.
A couple.
Okay.
The first one's real quick. His name was Pete Gray.
Okay.
He was a baseball player during the war years, and he had one arm. And so the whole handicap thing.
Yeah.
Jim Abbott was another baseball player.
Yeah.
That basically had one hand. Anyway, I'm a baseball guy. I grew up in a baseball family.
Fairly. Yeah.
So I would definitely like to. Now, was the question to talk to them?
Yeah, like who would you want to talk to them or their parent, and what would you want to know?
Well, so I would like to talk to them just how they did it, how they confronted all the things they had to come up against.
Yeah.
But actually, I think most of all, I would like to talk to Wayne Gretzky's parents. Not because he was the ultimate superstar, but he has a camp here in Coeur d'Alene.
He does.
He has a place here on Lake Coeur d'Alene.
I've heard that.
Everything I've ever heard about him, and I'm sure It isn't universal.
No.
But everything I've ever heard about him is he's a decent human.
Yeah, I've heard that he's like a very humble man too.
Yeah, and I would want to know from his parents how they were able to do that. How they were able to keep him grounded.
Yeah.
And I've heard him on sports talk shows talk to old teammates.
Yeah.
You know, I love the sports scoring system in hockey stats where you get as much credit for an assist as you do for a goal. And if you wiped out all his goals, he would still have the most points of anyone.
Because of all of his assists. Yeah, because he's a good teammate. Yeah.
So I would like to talk to his parents just to say, how'd you do it? Because I would like to try to integrate some of those things in a hockey academy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Keeping the kids humble and helping them work together.
And realize even though that they're great at something and have an opportunity that not everybody has, it doesn't mean that you get to be an arrogant human.
Yeah, for sure.
How did they raise such a good human? Because ultimately,
you gotta have confidence. To me, that's a fine line between confidence and arrogance.
Absolutely. 100%. I couldn't agree more.
All right. So thank you so much for joining us this weekend.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for giving me the 15 minutes of fame.
I mean, hopefully it is fame. No.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping for fame for you. And if after you're very famous, they dig in the archives and they find this one, I hope it makes them smile.
Aw. Well, I really appreciate it. We really wanted to dive more into academics and sports and stuff, and so having you on the show was a big step, and I really thank you for joining us.
Thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Anytime. Until next week, friends, stay loud, stay proud, and stay awesome. Thanks for tuning in today, and we appreciate you listening. Catch us next week for another mix of hockey tales, tricks, and/or tips.